didn't get a diagnosis until he was 8, and people had suggested perhaps vaccines, but I said no. He's been like he is since the very first day of birth, and I just didn't put it together that me being Rh negative and getting Rogan with each and every pregnancy and his hepatitis B, I just didn't put that together right away. But from the very first day of birth, I could hold that beautiful, serene child, and all of a sudden he would erupt in this little screaming, piercing cry, and I would call the nurse and say, something's breaking on him. This is different. And she would come in. By the time she came in, he'd gone back to his little poker face, and she'd say, "Oh, mama," just like I'm a new mama, and so I was kind of dismissed, but he maintained this behavior. It kind of evolved into rages, as a baby, and I thought that I was just losing humongous maternal chunks of IQ points, with each child. I thought I would get brighter with each child, but instead I was just losing these huge chunks of maternal IQ points. And it wasn't, he went through 3 years of OT and speech and some I can't think of the word, testing, so simple. But he went through with the testing, and finally at 8, just turned 8, and he came back with an Asperger's diagnosis plus comorbidities. And I joined a autism group that helped get resources for Baton Rouge, and they were suggesting vaccines, and I said, well, it couldn't be vaccines. He's like he was in the first day of birth. And anyway, I finally learned that was what the signs of vaccine damage were, and that's when I started putting it together and helping him. Now, as late as last February, not this past one, this last February, he was in a behavioral center. He ended up in a behavioral center. I had taken him off of all supplements for a while, all of everything for a while, and in February of last year, he ended up at the TAW Center for 11 days for behavior. And there I asked them to address his MTHFR mutation and the possibility of PANDAS. The pediatric neurologist who was on there, he acknowledged PANDAS, but he did, to his credit, he said, but I'm not going to explore that. I'm not an expert in it. I'm not going to explore it. You can find somebody else who does. Anyway, he sent him home with a prescription for Depakote because they assume that these are perhaps deep temporal lobe seizures whenever he goes into these meltdowns. On April 2nd, World Autism Day, he had a breakthrough rage, and I ended up with a black eye anyway for World Autism Day. And I kind of joked that I was celebrating World Autism Day with a black and blue eye, celebrating it, blue with a black and blue eye. But it was right at his very next doctor visit, I asked the doctor to please put him on Enlight. Actually, if I don't mean to be a commercial, but I said, can you please put him on Enlight?
Well, I don't know what that is. What is
it's an MTHFR mutation. It's a one and done to address his MTHFR mutation. And so he looked it up, and he gave me a prescription that's covered by insurance. And within a day or two, both my husband and my son said, I think this new medicine is working. Ever since then, we've had no black eyes, no bruises, no scratches, no broken windows, no broken electronics, and he is about to go back to school. Next Monday, he is supposed to start school again for the first time in about 4 or 5 years. So, and so we're not doing the full, gamut of.
Could you just tell us the name of that again?
Enlight, ENLYTE. And so things aren't perfect, but they are so much better. I can see my son's personality. I can, he's got this sense of humor that doesn't stop, that is now able to surface.